We hear it all the time. I can't even express how much better I feel eating a low-carb ketogenic diet. I don't crave processed food at all. I have been keto for 4 years. After about 4 to 6 months of eating a keto diet, I noticed I had no cravings for junk food. It was amazing. Then I noticed I wasn't hungry feeling anymore. I was no longer addicted to food. It's awesome. So the question is, can a ketogenic diet cure food addiction? We're going to look into it in this video.
So, can this happen for you? Can going keto, cutting those carbs out of your diet, cure those addictions you have to food? And I think we should talk about some of these kind of common food addictions, right? Like the list of foods, right?
Right, the ones that we all know, right? In fact, I did a video on this on my other YouTube channel about the most and least addictive foods. And on top of the list of addictive foods were things like chocolate and chips and cookies, cakes, candies, the 3 C's.
3 C's.
But what is it about these foods that makes them so addictive?
Right. And I'm going to throw in, when I think about addictive, it's like the things you can't live without. So personally, I would say pizza. What about warm bread?
Yeah.
I mean, we have a bread factory. Yeah, we have a bread factory that's in our area, and when you drive by on the interstate, the smell of that bread, I mean, the thing that pops in my mind is a thick slice of warm bread with butter on it.
It's a little cruel that
it is cruel
that they put out that smell.
Yeah, it is. But it's those things, and it goes to your brain, and that is, it's the combination of these nutrients that is really kind of the stimulus for this. So we know from studies that carbohydrates, fats, salts, and that combination actually triggers a response in the pleasure center of the brain, just almost exactly like cocaine does. Yeah. Same pleasure center.
And I would add refined carbohydrates. So refined carbohydrates mixed with just the right amount of fat and salt. Right. That is the addictive.
Yeah, we're not talking about avocados here.
Right.
Right. So if you've listened to kind of the public rhetoric over the last decade, you're going to see a lot of people that say, well, eating fat, it's going to make you fat, right? And we already know that eating carbs is really what, makes you store fat and makes you fat. But the combination of those two things, high fat and high carb, is probably the worst. We've talked about that before too. It pushes your insulin up, that insulin stores the fat, you can't get out of it. You can even go online and look for studies, and if you would type in high-fat diets and weight loss or something, you might find some studies that actually say a high-fat diet leads to increase in fat mass. And the interesting thing is if you look into the studies, because they have pretty much mislabeled them, number one, they're talking about rodents, and number two, it's not a high-fat diet, it's also a high-carb diet. So they've done the absolute worst combination of things, but they've decided to focus on the high-fat portion of it. So, and that goes back to, we've got to get those carbs out. There's nothing wrong with the fat.
Well, and it is that combination. I'm sure a lot of people that are watching and follow us pretty regularly are probably shaking their heads and saying, that once I got those foods out of my diet, once I got the refined carbs out, my cravings went away, just like those people that we had at the beginning. And we have anecdotal, evidence of that all the time, but it's not just anecdotal. This is actually supported in the research, that a high-fat, actually ketogenic diet, there's some good research out there that it is specifically hunger satiating. And one knock I think sometimes low-carb and keto diets get is that they, people that aren't on board with them say, well, you're just losing weight because you're cutting calories. Well, that might very well be true, but you're cutting calories because your hunger is under control. You don't have the cravings to eat more. So if that's wrong,
you're not suffering through a day of just carrot sticks and celery sticks.
Yeah, you're eating good, healthy, whole foods that are satisfying your hunger. Now, of course, that doesn't take away. I'm just gonna kind of throw this out there too, right? So when you were talking about the bread factory, it is a cruel joke, right? When you drive by there and you aren't eating bread and you smell this wonderful bread. I mean, it's, I always say there's this physical and there's this mental side to weight loss. The physical side with the ketogenic diet and low carb diet, it will take away your cravings, help you if you feel that you are addicted to food. It is the way to go. A little bit of a caveat warning is that we still have that mental side to us. And it doesn't mean that, as we've said on our channel a couple of times, sometimes it stinks to be low carb, right? Because there's a lot of great foods out there.
Yep. But, it's better to be healthy.
Yeah, well, it's better to be healthy and you feel great and your mental clarity. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yep.
So we hope that was interesting to you guys. Go ahead and share your experience. Has being on a low-carb or ketogenic diet taken away your cravings, your addiction to food? Did you used to think you were addicted to food, and now that you're on low-carb keto, you don't feel that way anymore? We'd love to hear. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe and click the bell icon so you see our next video come out. Till then.
See ya. And we didn't talk about McDonald's French fries having sugar in them. Oh well.
I think you'd mentioned that before.
I have mentioned that before. They're good.